All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Wadash. And of course, I want to say Shalom to your brothers and sisters out there, Yakim and Akwath, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson, and we'll get back to the Lord one. We'll get back to the here's some more reasons Babylon has got to go. A little mini series. I still got to finish that up, but I got this one. This is a video. As you can see, we're here on Instagram, and throw this note somewhere. Just like it. And today we're over on Instagram, so I got another little Instagram lesson, and this one's titled "The Babylonian Woman's Minds," or "These Babylonian Women's Minds are messed up," or "The Babylonian Woman's Mind is messed up," something along those lines. And we see this a lot now. This seems to be a so-called Edomite, but I guess you can really never know, because this is a shared mindset. All right, this is not a certain specific racial identifier. All right, this is a trait that is shared between all. Well, I won't say all demographics of women. We don't really see it too much in also like the title is Babylonian. All right, this is a Babylonian construct. And again, what does it mean by Babylonian? Is that just Babylon? No, because as we can go and get in the scriptures, this is Revelation 18 and 3 through 5. It says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." And to know who she is, really we got to go from verse 1. Right here in verse 2, it says, "Babylon the great is fallen." Right? That's just an excerpt from verse 2. But it's letting you know that it's dealing with Babylon, all right? Modern Babylon, new Babylon, all right? Which is the USA. But if we go specifically back down to 3, if we single 3 out, it says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication." So that's these doctrines, these constructs, these mindsets, male mindsets and female mindsets, mind you. But we see that. Okay, that is something we see. Now, when it says all nations have drank of it in one way, shape, or form. It might not have touched the women exactly as it have in other nations. I mean, but they've gotten something. Okay, they've gotten some of it, some variety of it. If it's not the women being Babylonianized, some other aspect of their culture has been Babylonianized. All right, we're not going to dig through deep and try to find every single thing. For example, in some places it's only hit 50-50 depending on how traditional, if there's a big sense of traditionalism within that country. For example, places like India, you have a lot of the women that are very into the traditionalism and getting with other Indian men and being mothers, and that's the most beautiful, most important aspect a woman could have. But you have these newer women, all right, like the Punjabi type women, the ones that are like the Bollywood type women. They want to be, and Bollywood's a great example of that wine, all right. Everybody wants to be like Babylon, that Babylonian culture. They want to have their own little version of it, and that's what the Punjabis and Bollywood is really all about. And you might have they're speaking like there's a name for it, but it's like a mix of English and Hindi, and they're mixing it in together. And the younger women, all right, primarily are becoming now we're starting to see that in the last 10-15 years that the younger women are behaving more and more like American women, because they have been become Babylonianized. Okay, now in deep parts of China we don't see that as much, but they have it other ways, right? Other ways. If it's not the feminine mindset going out the window, it's another thing, right? So the Babylonian woman is not just the Babylon woman, all right? The woman in America, okay? But the Babylonian women are those who are acting like those women in America, because those women in America are, of course, the most Babylonianized, being that they are dwelling and living in America. So these Babylonianized women, all right, who are also essentially Babylonians because they're going after the ways of Babylon. They're essentially worshiping the ways of Babylon and the customs and the lifestyles and the choices and so on and so forth. Their minds are just as messed up as the American woman, all right, because they're acting like the American woman. And again, another way that this wine is spread is through the internet, okay? Just like this truth is spread through the internet, all right, it is a double-edged sword at the end of the day. There's a lot of wickedness that's spread through the internet. That Babylonian woman's mindset is spread through the internet, through TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, formerly or X now, X, formerly Twitter. And those are the primary, YouTube, all right, those are going to be the big epicenters of that Babylonian mindset. The music, all right, the music, I'm from Memphis, what you know about me, right, shit like that, that's playing in other countries, right, and that's why really it would be a smart idea for other countries to ban the import and streaming of American music and media. If I had my own nation today and I was trying to keep it afloat, all right, before ultimately, because all the big kings, they know, the kings of this earth, they know, and have been briefed about how they're basically trying to work against Yahushua. That's what they're really trying to do, to try to keep their kingdom afloat so it doesn't get destroyed. But what I would do is to keep my kingdom afloat as much as possible, all right, being that I'd be a heathen king, I would cut off all influence, all right, from Babylon, and I would do my dealings over there, all right, like being a merchant of the earth. I would wax rich through the abundance of the wickedness in Babylon, go over there, maybe start a pornography empire and all this other shit, because that's what these people do, but I would not let my inhabitants of my country know about that, all right, if that's, because once you have that in, ooh, no, you want a very traditional society, okay, and traditional is whatever you whatever you want, all right, and your line of control, that goes out. Once you have music that starts giving people ideas and movies that start giving people ideas, it's all going downhill from there. And that's really where Babylon and a lot of these other countries with Babylonian, and it had to happen because Yahweh Shai had it happen that way, because these places got to go down. But allowing those that foreign influence in it's just a dangerous thing. Okay, it's a dangerous thing. I mean, if you want a perfect example of that, look at what has happened to us. Okay, we had a way that we were held to. We had a way in which we were supposed to walk and behave and think like and do like, and we became knowing to foreign influence, all right, even though we shouldn't have been. The Lord told us when we're around them, don't learn anything from them, don't be hanging around them like that, okay? These people you going around their land conquering their land, don't be learning stuff from them and all this stuff, because their ways are wrong. Their ways are not the right ways, okay? And that's again goes back to learn not the way of the heathen, be not dismayed at the signs for the of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. And you got Jake, that they don't want the world to go away in its capacity right now. They want it to stay put. They want it to stay exactly how it is. And a lot of people are worried about the world ending. Well, the world's end is not what these people think the world end is. They think a big nuke's going to hit, boom, and that's it. And then all life form is dead, and everybody's dead, and they're dead for the rest of ever. And it's like a mass extinction event like the dinosaurs, and then we just never come back to the people. That's stupid, all right? That's the Hollywood version, okay, of Armageddon, all right? Judgment Day, whatever you want to call it, all right? Doomsday. Nuclear apocalypse, a nuclear holocaust, all these different words for it. That's the Hollywoodized version, all right? That's what they think, all right? Or the earth splits in two, or the earth maybe even perhaps is vaporized. Oh, no, that's not how it happens. It's essentially a bigger and more important version of ripping off a Band-Aid, okay? Yeah, sure, it hurts, all right? But the world's not going away, Okay, for example, it's to quote George Carlin. Now, he was a little bit off with that little joke that he said, but he said everyone's always worried about the environment. He's like, save the bees, save those trees, right? He says, we don't need to worry about the environment. We need to worry about ourselves. He says, the world is fine. The people are fucked, right? He says, pack your bags, folks. We're going away, right? Let's see. Now, instead of the, think about it this way, and I'm using this from the capacity of the planet is fine, okay? The planet is fine. And what I mean, like, yes, right now, the planet is essentially, it's got a cold, all right? It's sick. Because of the way Esau has been well, if you even want to call it cultivation and farming it and doing all this shit to it, it's sick. It's got a cold, all right? But when the Lord's going to heal it, all right? He's going to heal the earth. The earth's going to be healed just as we're going to be healed. The earth's going to be healed as well. The planet is fine, okay? The people are fucked, okay? Which means a lot of these people are going to die, okay? The earth's not going to essentially, well, it is essentially going to die, all right, in the form of, passing away, but not again, it's those words that people don't understand. It's just like, essentially, we're not going to die. We're going to be translated, Lord willing, we're part of the elect, but essentially that old body will technically be dead. It's no more. It's gone. Okay, so that would technically be dead, but we're not going to taste of death in that same capacity. It's really hard to explain for those that just don't have a spiritual mind, okay, because we're going to have an upgrade, essentially. It's not that our body is physically going to die as you think of death, but in a technical standpoint, death is the end of something and the beginning of another, in the true sense. Okay, it's our body's not going to die like that. The earth's not going to die and be, a new heaven and a new earth doesn't mean that like this one's going to blow up and there's going to be, now this is Earth 2.0 and he's going to put that in on a second side. No, that's not how it goes. It's going to be this earth. It's just going to be cleansed, all right, with nuclear missile fire, and then of course the the gradual change, all right, that's going to happen. Heathens are going to have to get used to servitude for 1,000 years, and then they're going to have their own land. It's going to be a complete change, all right, a death and a rebirth, if you will, all right, almost like a reincarnation, if you want, for the earth. All right, almost, right? You think about reincarnation, it's almost like a dying and a reincarnate back in the flesh, but of course the earth is not a flesh, so it would be, it's like reincarnation, all right? A death and a life, okay? So the people are fucked, but even then, right, they still come back to the regeneration, the reincarnation, and they're going to be, heathens are going to be, again, 1,000 years of captivity. After that, Esau is going to go away, all right, and it's speculated that they'll more than likely be dissolved into another nation, but they're never going to be Esau, all right? They're going to be a complete formulation change. So listen to this real quick. Let's see, I don't want to do that one because that's the official. This one's from
That's why we hired a jester in the first place. Not just to let us laugh at the king, but to say cool stuff.
I don't want to do that one either. Let's find... Let's try this one. Here it is.
Save the trees, save the bees, save the whales, save those snails. And the greatest arrogance of all, save the planet. What? Are these fucking people kidding me? Save the planet? We don't even know how to take care of ourselves yet. We haven't learned how to care for one another. We're gonna save the fucking planet? I'm getting tired of that shit. Tired of that shit. Tired. I'm tired of fucking Earth Day.
And it's the truth. I mean, again, the guy, George Carlin was a Jake, but he was in the world, so he says things that are off and doesn't have to understand about everything. But again, what he's saying here is true. You got a lot of these humans that are out here. Yes, humans, all right, or puny little flesh creatures, all right, as I've heard the apostle say. And all they really do, they're worried about saving the planet. You look, that's you mostly see the Edomites. They're save the planet. We're gonna save the planet, and that is a God complex. To think you could save a whole planet, okay, and you can't even wash your ass right. Okay, inside joke. How are you gonna how are you gonna do that? How are you gonna pull that one off, buddy?
I'm tired of these self-righteous environmentalists, these white bourgeois liberals who think the only thing wrong with this country is there aren't enough bicycle paths. People trying to make the world safe for their Volvos. Besides, environmentalists don't give a shit about the planet. They don't care about the planet. Not in the abstract, they don't. Not in the abstract, they don't. You know what they're interested in? A clean place to live. Their own habitat. They're worried that someday in the future they might be personally inconvenienced. Narrow, unenlightened self-interest doesn't impress me. Besides, there is nothing wrong with the planet. Nothing wrong with the planet. The planet is fine. The people are fucked. Difference. The planet is fine. Compared to the people, the planet is doing great. It's been here 4.5 billion years. Did you ever think about the arithmetic? Planet has been here 4.5 billion years. We've been here what?
And that's a lie. We've been here for a couple thousand, but anyway. And I mean, the Earth isn't completely fine, but like you said, comparatively to the humans, yeah, I would agree with that. Comparatively to the humans, yeah, the Earth it's still sick. But the humans have completely lost their fucking mind, all right? The Earth is still operating, not to its 100%, but it's operating better than the humans are fucking operating, all right? Because it's, man, people have gotten, the Earth hasn't got, comparatively, if you think about it comparatively, in the last 15 years, the Earth hasn't got too much worse. Humans, or humanity, has gotten 30, fucking 40, 50% worse, probably even more than that, right? We've seen the rise of the whole transforming gender, right? Build a bear, all right, but with your with who you think you are, all right, what you got in your pants. That was never a concept before that. I mean, the Earth, they've got the logging and the deforestation. And yes, the Earth is sick, all right? So he's not completely 100% right when he says the Earth is fine. I mean, it's not 100% fine. The Lord has to fix it and heal it as well. But comparatively, he did say comparatively. I will agree with comparatively to the humans, the Earth is doing a bit better than the humans, right? The Lord's... He's got the Earth kicking, all right? Again, it has to go through a couple formulation changes, but no, the humans, the people, as he says, the people are fucked, okay? It's bad right now, all right? It gets worse and worse and worse and worse by the year, okay?
100,000, maybe 200,000, and we've only been engaged in heavy industry for a little over 200 years. 200 years versus 4.5 billion, and we have the
couple thousand, but still 400 compared to several thousand years.
Conceit to think that somehow we're a threat, that somehow we're going to put in jeopardy this beautiful little blue-green ball that's just a-floating around the sun. The planet has been through a lot worse than us. Been through all kinds of things worse than us. Been through earthquakes, volcanoes, plate tectonics, continental drift, solar flares, sunspots, magnetic storms, the magnetic reversal of the poles, hundreds of thousands of years of bombardment by comets and asteroids and meteors, worldwide floods, tidal waves, worldwide fires, erosion, cosmic rays, recurring ice ages, and we think some plastic bags and some aluminum cans are going to make a difference?
And again, he's wrong, but he has a point with some things, right? He's wrong with some things, he has a point with other things. But yeah, man, the people are the biggest issue, all right? The Earth, it needs to be healed as well, but the people right now are the biggest issue. And a perfect example of that is the mind of the Babylonian woman. Because how the fuck do you even... again, the amount of stonewalling and jumping through hoops and fucking dodging accountability, all right? Like no tomorrow. I can't even... Anyway, just watch this, man, and it's stupid. The amount of rampant stupidity. Again, George Carlin. Think about how dumb the average person is and then realize half of them are dumber than that. Here's my own part. And then take the women and realize they're dumber than that second part that you thought were dumber than that first part that you know. Dumb, man. These women are very, very, very... they're like a hive mind out there. And that's the biggest problem with women is that they're a hive mind. What is a hive mind? Women are a hive mind and they have their own echo chamber. Okay, a hive mind is a collective consciousness where a large group of individuals share the same thoughts, goals, and actions as one single mind. Okay, and that's what they do. It's a groupthink, crowd mentality, where people lose individual judgment to conform, and that's what they do. All the women act like all the other women. Okay, and every once in a while you'll have a straggler. You'll have someone that, you know, pops out, all right, and sticks out like a sore thumb in a good way. But for the most part, these women are a hive mind. These women roll their own echo chambers. Okay, their echo chamber of, you know, they have their own little internet communities, whether it be on TikTok, whether it be on Instagram, whether it be on Reddit, whether it be on Threads, right? They have their own little communities for women where it becomes an echo chamber, and they're talking to each other and they're hive minding and they're echo chambering at the same time, and that's why all the women look like the same. That's why they all talk the same. That's why they all walk the same. That's why they all like the same movies. That's why they all listen to the same music, and that's why they all have the same opinions, because they're all going around these other women. And women are very, very, very big on conforming to one another and acting in a way that other women are accepting of. Okay, not so much as men. Men do that. Well, that's really more of a feminine trait, but we have effeminate men that do the same thing as well. But these women, they want to look how other women want them to look. Okay, they want to talk how other women want them to talk. They want to do their makeup how other women would want them to do their makeup. All right, they want to hate things that other women hate. They want to like things that other women like, and they want to be in that echo chamber and that hive mind. Okay, it says an echo chamber is an environment such as social media, an online community, or a physical space, you know, a book club, right? Women used to do those a lot. Or Tupperware parties, right? Anything that they go to, and they have these big groups of these women where they sit around sharing their ideologies that are essentially the same ideologies that the other women have, that they got from the other women that had the same ideologies, right? So, you know, generation upon generation of women with these fucked up minds. And again, it's a Babylonian mindset. Okay, the women in the other places are not quite as bad as in America, but they're still getting Babylonianized in some extent. It says, so it's a place where people only hear ideas that match their own. Inside this space, differing views are kept out or put down, making people think that their own ideas are the only correct ones. Most users on Reddit agree that this cycle makes people feel safe in their group while ignoring outside facts. Okay, they have the same ideas, no outside facts. Okay, outside news or fact that disagree are just called fake or bad. Oh my god, girl, that's fake. That's bad. That's just men. That's just the. Here's the big one with women. That's just the fucking patriarchy. That's a fucking patriarchy. Although they don't even know that we're in a patriarchal themed matriarchy. That's what we're in. We're in a matriarchy that's just themed and flavored and painted up as a patriarchy, but it's really not. Okay, because men go to harsher prisons, men do not get the kids. All right, men are not getting child support like that. Men, if a woman comes and starts hitting a man, no one comes to their rescue. All right, but if someone starts hitting a woman, whether it's a woman or a man, someone jumps their, Captain Save a Ho. All right, I need to save her. Please, someone, she needs to be saved. I need to save her. That's how the song should be. Right? Because that's the motto of these new fucking simp ass men, and the men have become effeminate, and they become just like the scripture says, right? There it was. First address, 4 and 26. It says, "Yea, many there be that have run out of their wits; they have gone out of their minds. All right, for women, and become servants, slaves, right, for their sakes." Okay, for the sake of these women, they have lost their fucking minds, all right, and have become servants to them, slaves unto these women. Turn off the light. Okay, honey. Okay, we're going here tomorrow. Oh, I wanted to go to the other store tomorrow. We're not going there. Okay, anything you want, as long as it doesn't upset you, honey. Right? Open the door for me. All right, like Norbit. Okay, Rasputia, open the door. You been messing with my seat, Norbit. I don't know, maybe you're just getting fat. What's that? No, nothing. All right, that's what has happened. All right, you're in that. A lot of these men are in that fucking Norbit spirit. All right, a lot of you men are in that Norbit spirit, and a lot of you men don't even have the fucking right to be talking about the women right now, because you need to fix yourself. You need to look in the mirror before you look out the window. Man, these women are messed up. Right? Meanwhile, you like getting popped in the ass or pegged or some weird fucking shit. All right, some weird fucking shit. You got to focus on you. Yeah, you're right in a capacity. Yes, these women are fucked up, but you're not good either, man. You're all fucked up in yourself as well. You got to fucking work on yourself. All right, these women messed up, man. All right, get out of my way. Okay, sorry, man. What the fuck? You know, you're part of the problem. All right, you're part of the women are the problem, but you're perpetuating it. All right, you're perpetuating the problem. Okay, perpetuating a problem means causing a bad situation, cycle, or issue to keep on going instead of stopping. Okay, you're perpetuating it. Okay, a lot of men perpetuate issues that are going on. Okay, they're perpetuating issues. A big one would be, subscribing to these OnlyFans. What's another one? Any type of that shit. Buying content. All right, that's perpetuating an issue. It's like prostitution, but at the same time, these women have went from a job where it's not something you should really have been proud. All right, nothing should have ever been proud. All right, causing pride. All right, there was prostitutes even in biblical time, but they weren't proud. Some might have been because they're just because it was back then. It doesn't mean that people weren't wicked, but the pride is a thing that it has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse over the years. Okay, in 2026, every year becomes the worst of something, right? The worst of everything, because, for example, in anything, right? 2026 is worse. For 2026 is worse in all matters of sin than 2025 was. And 2025 was worse than 2024, and 24, and 23, and then 23 over 22, and so on and so forth, all right? Because every year, this place waxes worse and worse and worse. So anyway, this is the situation. The men are perpetuating an issue. It's these men that are also part of the problem because they're lost their minds, all right, for these women and become servants for them. And so there's a whole bunch of issues, all right? There's a bunch of issues. But the Babylonian mind of the woman is completely messed up. So here you go without any further ado. It's taken me along, 30 minutes to get to it? About.
A housewife. Can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Okay. But women are supposed to turn felons, cheaters, and liars into kings?
No, who told you to do that? That's exactly what we've been telling y'all not to do. Why are those the only options? Why couldn't it be between a teacher or a doctor? Why the fuck does it have to be a criminal and a felon? That shit was not in the syllabus. Nobody is forcing you to be with the criminal. You're the one who picks who you end up with. Yeah, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, you're right. But that doesn't mean you go ahead and turn King Von into your husband. Absolutely not. How many times do we need to tell y'all? Do not get with criminals and felons. We've been trying to explain this shit to y'all. Who told you to turn felons and criminals into kings? Why are those the only options? Who told you to create a family with criminals and felons? You cannot save them. That's not how it works. Like, this shouldn't even be an argument, bro. This is just another thing to waste time on. This is the exact same energy as telling a motherfucker you like waffles, and he tells you, oh, so you hate pancakes? No, I never said that.
Can't turn a hoe into a housewife.
And that happens a lot. It says, oh, I like, you like waffles or pancakes. Oh, I like waffles. So you hate pancakes? No, we see that a lot. We see that a lot with these women. Okay, that's one of the big arguing points. I don't know what I want to call it necessarily. Methods of not taking accountability. It's like, oh, I don't think you should do that. Oh, so you hate me? It's like, what the fuck? No. No one ever even said that. What the fuck are you talking about? All right? Well, you're saying you hate me. It's like, no one said that they hated you. Well, you're saying that you didn't like it when I did this, so you're saying that you hate me. No, I said that I didn't like that. Well, I did that, so that means you hate me. No, it means we don't like the activity that was behind it, so you hate women. All right, whatever. All right, enjoy your fucking retard take. All right, somebody get this bitch to fucking slow people camp. Get her a helmet and take her down to the special ed. Throw her right in there with them. All right, throw her right in there with them. All right, that's where she needs to be. Matter of fact, don't do that. All right, because, you know, meanwhile, those individuals are having judgment from the Lord. They didn't choose that. All right, I scrap that. Don't suffer them to be. Put these bitch on an island somewhere. All right, just throw them on an island somewhere that preferably don't even have any animals, because I don't want the animals to be bothered either. All right, let them just walk around, talk about men.
Oh my God, if it wasn't for the men, we wouldn't even fucking be on this island. Oh my God. We don't even need men.
Meanwhile, they won't even be able to fucking cook. They won't be able to catch anything. They won't be able to do anything. They won't be able to build a shelter. They won't even be able to keep themselves dry. They won't even, you know, anything. That's not true. I've seen videos of it. They actually did a test. All right, and they actually had to come and rescue the women after a week because they were dehydrated. They weren't getting water. Meanwhile, the men were fine. They're partying up every single night. All right, they ate a crocodile. Shouldn't have, right? Shouldn't have, but that's what they did. They ate a crocodile. They were catching fish and crabs and all sorts of shit, and had water. They were collecting water. They had a camp built the first night. The women didn't have shit done. They didn't have shit done. All right, and it's in your body. It's in your genetics. All right, to really not be able to know how to do that shit. All right, because you want to know why women are always like, why are men always hot? Why are they like heaters? And then women, we're not. Well, here's a big thing that's fun to learn is that men produce more heat, but we do not retain as much heat. Okay, women do not produce much heat, but they retain more heat. Why is this? Because the men need to produce a lot of heat while we're out in the field. All right, while we're going and gathering sticks, stones, food, hunting, whatever it is, we need to retain more heat and be able to push that heat out. Boom, 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 boom. Right? But we don't retain it as much. Women, when they're out and about like that, they get cold quicker. Okay, but if you put them into a blanket, they will, they'll get that heat and they will hold it longer. All right, men, we push it out, but then, you know, sometimes we can have the misfortune of being colder a lot. Sometimes men, they say, oh, women are always cold. Well, that's because they're not retaining the heat that's in the environment. All right, but if you put a man next to her, she generally won't be that cold. All right, she won't be that cold because it'll be that heat. But again, we might be more cold because we're producing that heat. It's going off of us, producing that heat and going off of us, and, you know, so on and so forth. But that's because the women would be at home next to a campfire, all right, or, you know, a fire of some sort, usually, some source of warmth. And once that warmth was in there, their body needs to retain it, okay? It needs to be able to retain it and do that. They're not burning through a lot of heat because they're not doing what men are doing, okay? You can look that up, all right? That is genetics. All right, that is pure genetics. It's the same thing like women were not built for battle. You have smaller bone structures that'll just snap. All right, men, all right, that is something that we are capable of doing. All right, and also not just battle, but anything that takes, you know, physical exertion like that, or for example, you know, and certain jobs and stuff like that, you have a metal pole on you or a metal pole fall on you or something like that, and it'll bruise us. But with a woman, that would have busted her skin open. All right, that would have actually caused a flesh wound. But on men, it doesn't, because our skin is thicker. We actually have thicker skin. That's why women feel so nice. All right, it's because they have very, very thin skin. All right, do men have thicker skin? And it should say yes. Yes, look at that. It says men have thicker skin. On average, the male skin is 20 to 25% thicker, primarily due to higher levels of hormone testosterone. On top of that, well, I'll just take testosterone. I'll just take tests. I'll just take it, and, you know, in my transition. Well, that doesn't matter because look, more collagen. Men also have a higher, or if you're trying to be a man, right? And I'm gonna do that, and my skin will thicken. No, it won't. More collagen. Men have a higher collagen density, which keeps skin firm and tight for a longer period. Slower initial aging. Because of higher collagen levels, men tend to develop fine lines and wrinkles later in life than women of the same age. You know, women age like shit. Okay, they age like shit. Okay, men do not age like shit. All right, men age like wine, women age like milk. Okay, and that's why it's very important that the younger women, they marry. All right, it talks about it in the Bible. All right, you know, I have it that the younger women marry. All right, roughly paraphrasing. You type, if brother wants to drop it down below, he can. Other differences in male skin. It says more active sebaceous glands producing double the amount of oil. I wonder what that's for. Larger pores and rougher texture. The outer layer of the male skin is typically coarser. Why? Again, it's going to be protective. But so men and women are not the same. Okay, they try to put on the same level, but again, they say, but again, women just don't have that accountability. They don't have that accountability. There was actually in talking about this lady, talking about, oh, we're supposed to turn felons and cheaters. First of all, a man can't really be a cheater because men are allowed to have multiple wives. Again, something that you don't like. All right, men are allowed to have multiple wives, but women are not allowed to have multiple husbands. All right, that's something that you don't like, really, because most of you are sexually promiscuous and harlots, and you don't understand how that works. Again, another situation that a dumb broad ain't gonna fucking understand. All right, and that's why these women and these men aren't getting along, because they don't understand the chemistry. They don't understand how they work. Okay, a woman is essentially just a child. Okay, they are essentially child-minded. All right, they don't have a capacity for intelligence like a man has. All right, it's fact. All right, you can go and look at studies or whatever you want, and they're all going to be fucking bullshit and made up. But it is the fact. Now, women might have a higher level of emotional intelligence that makes them seem like they're intelligent or on the same level as a man, but they're not. That's emotional intelligence. It's not factual intelligence. That's not it's not really practical intelligence. It's not practical knowledge. It's emotional intelligence. They're more in tune with their emotions. They can tell you more about what the exact feelings that they're feeling are, and they'll argue with emotion. They don't argue with logic. They do not provide fact. All right, they are emotional creatures, and again, because of being emotional like that, that is going to impede upon your intelligence levels. Okay, if we're over here and we're trying to argue about why we should add heat shields, all right, onto a spaceship, and I'm over talking about the logistics, all like, oh, when we go this, it's going to create this amount of heat Celsius, and if we don't have this amount and this, this thick of the heat shield, it's actually just going to melt through the core, and the whole ship will just, it'll just blow up and killing everybody inside. We can't have that. But we're going to put, women, all right, women would try to put a feeling matter in them. Well, I just feel that, maybe we should do it on the other side, or I just don't, I feel this. And of course, that's an extreme example. But if, for example, what would be a better example of a woman using, I can't even think about it, because again, I can't put myself in that mindset of constantly being emotionally minded. You'll have it where I've had every man in the world has had several accounts where they're trying to provide facts to a woman, and the woman's just going off emotion as if emotion's is fact. All right, that's a low IQ. That's a non-intellectual mindset. All right, for the women to say, oh, we're not dumb, we're not less smart than men. If I'm over here trying to provide reasons, all right, why something is fucked up and broken, and you're telling me you feel like it's not, when there are literal facts, all right, there are literal factual, provable, in not in theory, but in actuality, matters that I can show you why that situation is fucked, and you're saying I feel like it's not fucked. That's low intellect. Okay, that's low intelligence. That's an issue. That is an issue at hand. Okay, matter of fact, if I go and look that up, if I am providing factual evidence-based logic, and someone is arguing it on the basis of their feelings, is that low intellectual behavior? See, they got to be careful, because they don't want to make women seem dumb. Relying on feelings instead of facts in a logical debate is called emotional reasoning. It's not always a sign of low intelligence. See, They did put it in there. It's not always a sign of low intelligence. When you use wording like that, it's not always a sign of low intelligence. That means generally it is, but it's not always, okay, a sign of low intelligence. If you really want to get down, and that's logic, using logic, okay, using analytical thinking, okay, it's not always a sign. If, it's like, oh, well, do you for people that eat a lot, do they always get fat? Well, they don't always get fat. That means they usually do, but some of them are going to be an anomaly. All right. For example, they might have a fast metabolism, and they might be able to eat that shit and not get fat, but it might cause other health issues. All right. It says people do this because of strong biases, stress, or personal values. So I'm just gonna quote it and see what it says. I'm gonna say, you stated does that mean it generally is, but isn't always the case? It should say yes, unless it's bullshitting. See, it's bullshitting. They can't do it, okay? Because they want to put emotional reasoning on the same level of logical reasoning. But if I go over here, is emotional reasoning just as good as logical reasoning? And again, they're pandering to females. Oh, but what is this? It says, no, emotional reasoning is generally not as reliable or effective as logical reasoning. For objective problem solving, factual analysis, or conflict resolution, objective problem solving, factual analysis, or conflict resolution, you have an issue and you're trying to solve it. All right, check out the beat while the DJ revolves it, right? But if you're trying to have a conflict resolution, if you got a problem, all right, and you're trying to solve it, you have to identify that problem. Use logical reasoning, all right? You don't go off of what you feel, okay? You might have something that you feel, but you usually resort to that after you use the logical steps. That's how it works with me. I'll use logical steps. I'm like, okay, well, this is broken. Well, usually it's, for example, a computer, right? I'm like, oh, well, something's going on with the computer. It's being weird. All right. Well, let me open up the computer, see what's going on. Well, what's going on? Is it being slow? All right. Well, maybe it's thermally. Maybe it's throttling. All right. It's thermals. All right. Maybe I don't have any. Maybe one of two things is my heat sink. All right. Is my heat sink fucking up? All right. Is my CPU fan? Is it out? Okay. No, I see it spinning. Okay. So it's not the CPU cooler. All right, I can take that off, and I say, okay, well, do I have thermal paste? All right, thermal paste, for those that don't know, it's basically like a type of thermal insulation that makes sure your CPU and basically your brain of the computer, it's not overheating, okay? It's going to make sure it gets lower thermal temperatures, all right? It's not pushing it into a level where it shouldn't be under load. So I'm going to go check, is it old? All right, is it kind of like chunky? All right, is it kind of flaky? All right, if that's the case, well, then I can scrape it off, apply a new paste. All right, so scrape it off, apply a new paste. And it seems like my CPU cooler, all right, is still, or if you have a liquid cooler, all right, it seems like it's still working. So I'm going to screw that back on, put that on. Okay, now start it up. Is it still slow? It is still slow. Okay, is something wrong with my RAM, perhaps? All right, I might perhaps run it through a RAM tester. Okay, do some type of program like that. Reseat the RAM, take it out and put it back in. All right, see if that's the issue. All right, is it still there? Well, what could this possibly be? All right, so is there an issue with my GPU? All right, is there some type of acceleration that's happening with my GPU and speeding up my computer? And there usually is. And for some reason, it's not working. Is my GPU dying? Well, let's take that out. All right, and let's, for example, let's take that out, or take the GPU out, or don't run it through the GPU. Instead, run it through your regular motherboard and see, okay, are my speeds any different here? What's going on? Okay, that could be something. That would be something I would try. All right, logically. Then after that is look at this. I'll get back to that, but you're emotional is not a logical argument. Yes, it is, but psychology with Dr. Anna. This bitch don't know what she's talking about. Again, a woman talking, you're emotional is not a logical argument. It is, okay? It very well is, and we'll hold that, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Because a woman with a PhD, the smartest woman, all right, can usually be outbeat, all right, by just a normal man that didn't even go to college. All right, think about that. That's the problem. All right, and that's because, again, women are arguing with emotion. All right, they're using emotional reasoning, which is just inherently worse. Okay, if you're basing your whole life and what you do off of emotional reasoning, you're going to be inherently less intelligent. Okay, you're not behaving intelligently. Okay, you're not making intelligent decisions and choices. You're running off of what you think is your instinct, which is just your emotion, and it's leading you wrong. And that's what happens with a lot of these women. That's why they're wrong, is because they're trying to do what feels good, and what feels good is not what is good. All right? That's the whole basis of sin. These people think, oh, well, it makes me feel good, so it must be right. No, we have to have a groundwork. We have to have a basis. And that's what the law was given to us to show you. We have to have essentially a plan to know and base logic off of it. Well, is what I'm doing wrong? Well, I don't feel like, fuck that, throw that away. Is what I'm doing wrong? I don't know, compare it to the chart. All right, what does the chart say? All right, the 613 laws, what does it say? Is it in there? Is what you're doing in there? Something's making you feel like, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe 613 laws, go in there. Is it in there? Does it say thou shalt not do it, or you should specifically be doing it? Well, I'm doing this homosexuality thing, people are making me feel bad, and it's making me question if I'm doing with 613 laws. Go and look it up. Is it in there? Well, it says, thou shalt not lay with a man like a man shall not lay with a man as with a woman. Well, that means you're doing wrong. There's your fact right there. Boom, bam. There's your groundwork. It's wrong. Don't do it. Well, I feel, throw it away. You got your little chart. You see that it's wrong. Done. All right, that's logic. It's purely logic. But a woman's saying, well, I don't think I need. I don't think. I don't. All right, that's that big emotional clue. I don't think I need the list. I feel like there's something wrong with the list. Inside of me, I feel like I am doing what's right for me. See? Me, I, me, I. All right? That's first person lingo. All right? That's your emotions. You feel. I want. I don't. I think. All right? And again, the Bible warns us about that. All right? Lean not into your own understanding. Okay? And the Lord shall direct all thy paths. Not you. Okay? The Lord. And how does he direct your paths? Through what he's given us as our groundwork, our framework, the Bible, the law. All right, the law, the statutes, and the commandments. And again, they're our framework. We can only do them to the best of our ability. Unlike IUIC, we're not going to be able to keep them perfectly. Keeping the law is not what gets us saved. It's grace through faith, through predestination. Because if we weren't predestinated to be conformed to the image of Hamashiach, we wouldn't have the faith. All right, it wouldn't be in us. Okay, we wouldn't care about the Lord. We would just be like these other people would. All right, so but we got to continue on, because again, we can't be emotional and think, oh, I am part of that. Well, we have to use logical reasoning, and anybody could come in and then just fall out. Okay, and because the Lord could have the storybook go that way. Okay, so we got to hope that, Lord willing, that's what we're part of. Okay, but using logic, we have no way to know. Okay, it's not about how we feel. We have no way to know. All right, we have to wait and see, and Lord willing, we're a part of the elect. But anyway, this woman, she says, your emotional is not a logical argument. All right, well, it is a logical argument, okay, because you're making a educated analysis, okay. You're using your brain and not your emotion. You're saying, okay, it is a logical argument. How's the best way I could explain this? Your emotional is not a logical emotion. If you're seeing somebody that is, for example, how do I want to explain being emotional in this capacity? Okay, here's an example. Say you're at a job, Okay, and this is why it's a logical argument. Say you're at a job. Say you're at a dangerous job. Say you're at a getting shot at by bullets factory, right? Just a made-up scenario. Say you're at the getting shot at getting shot at with guns factory. And every day you go there, you get shot at with guns. Okay, that's your whole job. And your job is getting shot at by guns, but living. Okay? Hard, right? How are you going to do that? Well, groundwork, framework, a thing to look for, just like we have the Bible, right? Giving you an example, a real world practical example. There's a framework. It says, all right, not every day, or not all day, every day are you being shot at by guns. Sometimes there's an intermission. Okay? Sometimes there's a ceasefire. Okay? So, every day let me get a sticky note so I can remember my little made-up scenario here. Every day at 9 a.m., okay, 1 p.m., and 5 p.m., okay, the bullets, there's a cease. Okay, no firing. Okay, for that 1 hour. Okay, for that 1 hour. Okay, so 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., no bullets fired. 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., no bullets fired. And 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., no bullets fired. Okay, so I tell you, hey, these are our groundworks. These are our frameworks. This is in our handbook. Every day, all right, you got to navigate from this one area to this other area, all right? 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., you're fine to move throughout the factory. Say you're in the factory, right? 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., you're fine to move throughout the factory. 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., you're fine to move throughout the factory, okay? And you say, oh, well, I feel like there's other times that I could move. I feel like I've seen, I think, like other times where it hasn't fired quite as quickly. Well, do you know for a fact that the bullets aren't firing as quickly? No, but I just, I feel like because the way I heard them, that there's times when they're not firing as quickly. Well, they are. Okay, it's just that they're firing different calibers and different types of guns at different times throughout the day. Okay, but during the gun changes, there's, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., they're changing those guns. So when they get back, it might sound like they're not firing as fast, but they are firing just as fast, and it's going to be dangerous if you try to move. Well, I feel like I could still move. That is a logical argument, okay? Because you are saying, you're trying to argue against something that is logical with feeling. Okay, so saying that someone's emotional, in that case, if you're like, no, you're in your feelings, you're in your emotions, you feel like it would be safer to move at that time, but it wouldn't. The only times are 9 to 10, 1 to 2, and 5 to 6. And if you move any other time, you're more than likely going to be shot at. All right, you're not shot at, you're already getting shot at. You're more than likely going to be shot, and you're going to get struck by a bullet. No matter how you feel, all right, the fact of the matter is, I'm telling you, from 9 to 10, 1 to 2, 5 to 6, that's the only time you could, factually, that's the only time we have the change. They're switching out the guns, and that is the only time in the getting shot at factory that you will not be getting shot at. That's the safest time to move from area to area, right? That's the time to move, regardless if you feel like the guns are shooting faster, you feel like they might reload, no. These are the only truly safe times. So if you're out there saying, well, I feel, you're taking something that is logical, hard-coded, these are the fucking safe times, you don't move outside of that, and then you go and do that, and you get shot at, yes, that is a logical argument. Saying someone is emotional, saying you're in your feelings. That is, you're a fucked up state of mind. You're being emotional. You're thinking you know what's best. This is the fucking code. Stick to it. That is a logical argument. Okay? That is a logical argument. So When a woman, and this is again psychology with Dr. Anno. Doctor means that she actually got a fucking PhD, and it don't mean fucking shit, because I just told you just in literally a matter of 5 minutes how an example could go, and an example could be given that shows you that yes, it is a logical argument, and you can't reason with emotion. You can't. It's impossible. Okay, it's impossible to truly reason. You might be able to do some type of minor levels of reasoning with emotion, but it's usually only reasoning emotionally. Okay, reasoning with another emotional individual, sure, you can reason emotionally because you're not going to be able to fucking contact them and reach them through fact. Get it? Probably not if you're a woman, right? But again, this is why men are the teachers. These are why men are leaders. This is why men are presidents. This is why men are war generals. This is why men are in these high up CEO positions primarily. Okay? Primarily, you have women in them now, but primarily these were men tasks. Okay? Because women are not good at logical reasoning. They're only good at quote unquote emotional reasoning, which really isn't reasoning at all. Okay? Again, it says no, emotional reasoning is generally not as reliable or effective as logical reasoning for objective problem solving, factual analysis, or conflict resolution. While emotions provide valuable data about our values and our needs, emotional reasoning treats feelings as direct proof of truth, which frequently leads to cognitive biases or poor decisions. I'm just gonna move when I think it's slow. Oh, well, she's dead. All right, get another person. Bring in a man this time, because he'll listen to the fact, all right, about the getting shot at factory. He'll only move at the specific times, all right, unless he's effeminate. So, yeah, man, it's just, these Babylonian women's minds are messed up, right, and they feel that way, all right. This woman felt like not turning a hoe into a housewife means the same thing, like, oh, so we're just supposed to just take, cheaters and felons and liars and turn them into kings. No, that's what your emotions told you. That's not factual. That's fucking stupid. That's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, look, logic versus psychology. An argument based on feelings is a logical flaw, but it's a psychological response. Yeah, but if that's the only reasonable assumption you can cognitively come to, arguing feelings, that's a intellectual, I think I spelled that wrong. Yeah, 2 L's. That's an intellectual roadblock, i.e., or in turn, making their that's an intellectual roadblock, in turn making them dumber. Okay. It says viewing that behavior as an intellectual roadblock is completely accurate. It is a temporary shutdown of critical thinking. Well, it's not temporary because okay, I'm gonna say that. Okay, say it wasn't temporary, but someone only thinks with emotion. That is 100% an intellectual issue. I spelled it without that 2 L's again, but I'm lazy. It says, if someone strictly processes the world through emotion and is consistently incapable of using objective logic, this is where we're at. This is what I fucking was talking about. It is indeed a cognitive and intellectual limitation. There you go. When this behavior is permanent and universal across all topics, it crosses from a psychological defense mechanism into a structural way of thinking. And for these women, it is a structural way of thinking. And that's why they're fucking dumb. That's why they are dumb. They are dumb. Most of these women are dumb. There's very intelligent sisters out there, all right? Some very intelligent women. But the most of the worldly women you see are just like this. They're fucking dumb. They're morons, man. All right, they have an intellectual disability, quite literally. Okay, the Babylonian woman's minds are messed up. They're retarded. All right, that's why they have all these absolutely fucking retard takes. Okay, and they do that. So like one of these photos showed, a woman will have this absolutely retard take, and then men will be like, no, that's not. And they'll be like, oh, a lot of fragile men in the comments, huh? A lot of fragile men. Right? Because they don't like being told that they're wrong because they're fucking more. I mean, you can look at this bitch. She wears her stupidity on her face. You can tell when someone's fucking dumb. All right? So, I mean, you can tell that her fucking IQ is a bit under the fucking room temperature. All right? And yes, not room temperature, a bit under room temperature. So it says she thought she cooked. What else is? Who even told her that? It says, so good guy is not in the options. Don't pick rotten eggs. Oh, so we're supposed to pick rotten apples? So, yeah, fucking dumb. As a human, we don't claim her, right? There you go. But they're so fun and exciting, so I've been told. It says, because that's all there's to choose from, hence loneliness epidemic. We're alone, not lonely. No, I mean, look at you. Look at you. You probably put your shit on private, but... World's okayest nurse. I can't even see you. First of all, you're fucking chopped. All right? There, you're chopped. Okay? I've seen chopped salad less chopped than you, man. You're fucked up looking. That's probably why we're alone, not lonely. Well, you're alone because of the positioning that you put yourself up in. All right? If I said that everybody in the world needs to die and the only good music is me fucking banging on a pot, a metal pot with a fucking limp noodle, all right, and me screaming, la, 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 and everybody disagreed with me, and I said, oh, I'm so alone, and, they just don't want, nobody, wants to, there's no good people out there that want to be my friends. Have I considered that maybe people don't want to be around me because of the situations and the ideologies that I am living in? Okay, living in, yes, surrounding myself in, and living and saying, oh, well, everybody's got to change their ways for me. No, you ever thought that maybe you need to change? That maybe you're fucked up? Maybe your reasoning is not good? Have you thought about that? Maybe no, because that would require logical thought and not emotional thought. And that's the fucking issue. Right back to square one. Right back all to square one. Whoop, right back to square one. That's the issue. Okay? That is the issue, man. And everyone's trying again. It's because Western media has glorified crime and violence for decades now. That's why it's called cool. No, the women are the fucking issue. The women are the fucking issue. Yes, there's men out here that are the issue. All right, but again, just as you can't turn a whore into a housewife, avoid them. No, so what are we supposed to do? Just take criminals and robbers and burglars and serial killers? No, avoid them. Avoid them. Just like you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, you can't turn what did I say? You can't turn a pimp into a prophet. All right? In this truth, for example. All right? You can't turn a pimp into a prince. You cannot turn a pimp into a prince. The Lord can. All right? He can make any change. He can change technically a whore into a housewife. The Lord can. He can change a whore into a housewife because he can have that full repentance take place and you can change your ways completely. All right? Same thing. You can turn a pimp into a prophet or a pimp into a prince. But only the Lord can do that. Worldly standpoint, you can't do that. They can't do that. That's only a change that the Lord can allow. So you gotta avoid those people. Yo, what's up, girl? What do I do? Oh, I'm a scammer, man. I'm a scammer on the side. I'm a pimp. I'll be hoeing bitches out, man. Turning tricks and shit, man. Oh, he's so dreamy. Fucking avoid him. Don't go around him, man. Don't go around no whoremonger what was it? Scamming ass dude in the world. Worldly ass man. Don't do it. Don't do it. No one told you to do that. Where'd you get that from? Who told you to do that? You told yourself to do that. You did that. You made it up. That's on you. All right. So anyway, let's get to some of the scriptures that I actually had planned for this lesson. Let's get Proverbs 17:15. It says, "He that justifieth the wicked and he that condemneth the just, even they both are abomination to the Lord. You say, why did you get this one? Because what she's trying to do is essentially, she's trying to justify the wicked. She's trying to justify her. She's trying to say, oh, so what are we supposed to do? We're just supposed to take, these wicked men and just, she didn't say it like that, but that's basically what she's saying. No, you're justifying the wicked. And who's the wicked in this case? Yourself. You're trying to justify yourself by saying, oh, we're not wrong. They're wrong. They're wrong and you're wrong. Okay, you're trying to justify the wicked, and the wicked is you in this case because you're fucked up and you're trying to justify your mindset. You're having that cognitive dissonance, man. You're not taking accountability for your actions. You're not taking accountability for your wickedness. And in turn, you're justifying your wickedness. You're justifying the wicked. In turn, you're justifying you, the wicked. That's who you are, man. That's who you are. And again, these women don't have any accountability at all. Okay, accountability is like kryptonite to a woman. No, not accountability. Ripping off that Chris Rock joke, right? So not accountability. No, they don't want accountability. They don't want that shit. Right? Get that accountability away from me. I don't want to hear it. All right, they'll call you an asshole, a chauvinist, a pig. All right, they'll call you the N-word. All right, they'll call you a bitch. All right, they'll say your dad's a bitch too, and your mom. All right, you're just a bitch. Your mom's a bitch, and your dad's a bitch. All right, everyone's a bitch. Your whole family's just a bitch. All right, they'll do that, but they won't take accountability. So here's one: if you have an issue, right? This is an example. Basically, we can use in the truth. You're trying to call someone out for doing something when you're doing the same thing, right? This is the situation that a lot of women could learn from. All right, even though it's talking about, your brother, it could work with sisters as well. Excuse me. So Matthew 7:3-5. And you know what? We're gonna read the NLT so it's easier for you. It says, "And why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own?" Okay, a mote versus a beam, right? A mote would be that speck. And a beam, all right, would be that log, okay? If you're comparing it to the King James Version, it says, "And why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own?" All right, that's absurdism, okay? That's what it is. There's a lot of literary, a lot of different literary, like storytelling styles within the Bible, and just like a lot of our humor today has absurdism. All right, the Bible has versions of absurdism. Obviously, no one has a literal law. It's also allegorical and metaphorical, but it's also it's a absurdist metaphor. Okay, it shows you it's absurdist. What is absurdism? All right, what is an absurdist example? Let's see. Absurdism. That's not it. Absurdist humor. Nonsense. Okay, maybe not absurdist. There it is. Monty Python. What? There's another word for it. Let's see. Absurdist exaggeration. Hyperbole. Okay, it's a hyperbole. It forces your brain to picture an impossible, painful image. Yeah. You read what it said. So yeah, it's those literature examples. All right, a lot of them are in the Bible as well. And this is an example in the NLT. And why worry about a speck in your friend's eye? So you can picture, someone just, like a speck, a piece of dirt, right? When you have a log in your own, you have a whole log sticking out the side of your head, right? Obviously, anybody would be dead, right? It's an absurdist example, but it's showing you the comparatively, like, you're over here worrying about a speck when you got way more than a speck going on. You got a whole host of issues going on with you, right? It says, how can you think of saying to your friend, let me help you get rid of that speck in your eye, when you can't see past the log in your own? Here, let me help you with that. You got the speck in your eye. Well, buddy, what the hell do you got? You got a whole log, man. You need to worry about that. It says, hypocrite, first get rid of the log in your own eye, then you will see well enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye. Okay, before you start calling out someone else, right, you need to focus on yourself, all right? And that doesn't mean that you can, a lot of people, for example, what will happen is a lot of people that have felt condemned or rebuked or their feelings got hurt, they'll try to say this. They'll try to, get the log out of your eye. Well, we're all working on everything, right? That doesn't mean none of us can ever judge, all right? We're all working on ourselves constantly. There's all things we need to improve on. But for example, if we're improving on things and trying to do that, and we're seeing someone moving incorrectly, all right, they can be rebuked. It's just, if we have some big things, here it is, you're a homosexual, you're trying to battle homosexual, and you're in the truth, and you were a homosexual before the truth, now you're in the truth, and you're having all these homosexual, ideologies and ideals come back. You need to fix that, all right? You need to get that under wrap. I just can't stop smoking the crack. Yeah, hey brother, I saw you eating the pepperoni pizza. You need to stop smoking crack, all right? First of all, before you start going and correcting somebody. But on I don't want to say a lower level, because it's not something that's low. Bear with me just 1 minute. 1 minute, slack your brothers and sisters. Slack it. What was I gonna say? Not gonna say it's on a low level, but it's definitely not smoking crack and homosexuality, right? So we should all constantly, none of us are in a perfect state ever, all right? And if we were, then we wouldn't need Yahushai, right? And we need Yahushai. So there's that, all right? And that's what these women like to do. They like to go around and say, oh, well, you men, you just got a lot of issues. Men have a lot of issues. Psh. Look at you women, man. You women are completely out of order. Well, men have a lot of issues as well. They can't say anything about the women. Comparatively, they do not. Okay? Yes, the men do have a lot of issues, but comparatively to women, no. Okay? Women are fucking everything up for themselves. Okay? Fucking everything up for themselves. 2 Corinthians 5:10, it says, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Mashiach, that everyone may receive the things done in his body according to that he hath done, whether it be good or bad. So what you have done, all right, that's what we get judged on. Okay, so it's not about what someone else has done, it's what you have done. You women, you're trying to stonewall, and you're trying to move the goalpost. All right, you're trying to situation jump. You're trying to say, oh, well, you women, men, right? And well, no, we're focusing on you right now. You have an issue, okay? You have an issue, okay? That's like if you went into a store and you stole perfumes and you stole candy bars and speakers and headphones, and you stole all these different things, but you saw someone steal a piece of gum and you say, they stole a piece of gum. It's like, yeah, well, we're talking to you right now because we saw you doing all that. Well, they stole a piece of gum. You need to talk to them too. Yeah, you're right. And we will in just a moment. But right now we're talking about you, and we see that you stole and you have the stolen items on you. What are we going to do about that? Well, they stole too. That doesn't matter. All right, we'll get to that in a minute. You still stole. They stole, but you still stole. We're not talking about them right now. We're talking about you. What say you about the situation? Get the shit out. There was an issue with you. You're in trouble. They're in trouble too, but you're in trouble. But women can't comprehend that. They'll say, well, no, but them too. They're not free from guilt. These men are not free from guilt. Okay, but anytime anything's brought up with these women, they can't handle the accountability. Okay, sometimes these men can't handle it either because they're effeminate. All right, acting like women. But women do it the most. okay? Comparatively, a speck to a beam, a speck to a beam, a speck or a mote to a beam, a speck to a log, okay? So you need to work on getting that log out of your eye, right? Before you comment on the speck, all right? Which would be what the men are doing. Yeah, and yes, and women, they're in a higher level of wickedness right now. All right, 100% they're in a higher level of wickedness. 100%. If you don't believe that, you're probably just a feminist. Okay? Because 100% these women are, you got, well, women are they're not more wicked than men. Yes, they are. Through the woman, sin entered the world, and through her we all die. Okay? Didn't say the man. All right? Didn't say that. And again, what was Adam's, all right, fault? What was his issue? All right, what was the wicked act that he did, trusting in the woman, because he shouldn't have been doing that, okay? But he wasn't in the transgression and like the woman was, because she gathered that forbidden fruit, such as in forbidden knowledge that she shouldn't have had, and shared it and passed it and commingled with a man, which that shouldn't have happened. But she was the one that went around there and did those things, and that's why she is the one that is enabled. Eve, she's the one that is labeled as, how sin entered into the world. So, because it's true. That's how it happened. So again, but he listened, again, log compared to a speck. Yeah, he wasn't guiltless, and the Lord had that situation. He had some words to say with Adam, right? If you read the story, he wasn't guiltless. But think, if Eve tried to do that, he did it. No. Yes, he has some issues. I'm going to get with him that. He's not faultless. But right now we're talking about you. Why did you do that? Why did you go there? This is what's going to happen to you guys because of this, right? So, Adam wasn't free from punishment. Okay, they both got kicked out, right? So anyway, that's where we're going to close it out. The Babylonian woman's mind are just messed up. No accountability. They don't understand reasoning. They don't understand logic. There's a whole bunch of stuff they don't understand. All right? And that's why most of these women, you can just stay the hell from around us, right? Because it's grievous. Okay? It's grievous. And we don't want anything to do with it. But we're not Captain Save-A-Ho. We don't want to be a psychologist and fucking therapist and a mentalist, all right, and try to examine you and fix you and go in there and be a fucking brain mechanic, pop it, here it is, baby, you got all this now. Nope. You got all this baggage. Well, sorry, we're full right now. We don't have anywhere for you to set those bags down. You're gonna have to go on to the next business and see if they have space, because we sure the fuck don't. So if you didn't like what I had to say, oh well, I don't really give a shit, alright? And that's how it is. There's plenty of people that don't like the words of the men that were teaching and preaching Navy how about Shemiao Shai. Still to this day, back then, all the way around. You don't like it, that's fine. We're purposely harsh. That's how it's supposed to be. We don't use soft language, alright? We're harsh speakers. Many of the prophets were harsh speakers. We're not soft. They were not soft. We're not soft, alright? And if something about this, got you all up in your feelings and upset, well, that's a situation you need to examine yourself. Because why are you getting cut? Okay, if someone's like, I just can't stand a motherfucker that wears red shoes. If I see a motherfucker wearing red shoes, I'm beating his ass. I'm not going to get upset or scared or worried about that because I don't wear red shoes. So why would I have to worry or care about that? Now, if I was wearing some red shoes, I'm like, why is he going around hitting people with red shoes, man? I like my red shoes. But I don't have red shoes, so I don't got to worry about it. So if you're getting upset, it's probably because something deep down inside you, it's feeling it. All right? It's feeling it. It's like salt on a snail. Okay? So figure it out. So that's where we're going to close it out. Lord willing, the lesson was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Again, I'm going to say, shalom to brothers and sisters out there. I do want to make it known that, the decent and order sisters out there, we do love you. All right? This isn't about the decent and order sisters. This is about those wicked ones that are out there in the world just doing all hosts of wickedness. So it's not all women. All right, it's a good chunk of women. It's not all women, because we do have some very orderly sisters in this truth. It's just very few, very rare. All right, but they're cherished, they're loved. Don't think this is about you. This is about them. Don't wear a shoe that doesn't fit. All right, keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Until next one, Lord willing. Shalom.